Ohio friends! My name is KitaDollx and welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to be investigating the Stardew Valley mushroom log. We're going to take a look at how good it is, and I do have a team of scientists on standby to crunch some numbers to see whether or not it's worth having on your farm. If you find this video interesting, please like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. With that out of the way, let's get into it. With the release of patch 1.6 for Stardew Valley, we were treated to a lot of new items and features to add utility, variety, and aesthetics to our farms. Among those is the humble mushroom log. This cute, moss-covered log produces mushrooms that can be harvested every 4 days, but rain does speed this process up. These cute little logs are a really reliable way to get a supply of mushrooms, especially for the many farmers who have opted to get the fruit bat cave on their farm instead of the mushroom cave. And let's face it, you never know when your life or your reputation is going to depend on somebody getting a fix of that sweet fungal forest candy. It is a craftable item at level 4 foraging that requires 10 hardwood and 10 moss. Moss is also a new item that was introduced with this update. It can be found and harvested from moss-covered trees. One interesting mechanism of the mushroom log is that the amount and quality of the mushrooms that each log produces is actually affected by the number of wild trees in the vicinity of the mushroom log. The type of wild tree also affects which types of mushrooms grow. For example, oak trees increase the chance of growing morel mushrooms, pine trees favor chanterelle, and mystic trees promote purple mushrooms. According to the Stardew Valley wiki, the number of mushrooms produced is a random number between 0.5 and 1.5 times the number of wild trees within a 7x7 square around the mushroom log, with a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 5 mushrooms per harvest. With this in mind, 10 nearby wild trees should consistently produce a minimum of 5 mushrooms every 4 days. Depending on how the game rounds the product, the mushroom log output should fall somewhere in the range on this graph. It's not the prettiest plot, but it does give us an idea of how much value each additional tree provides. So it looks like the biggest bang for your buck comes from the first 5 nearby trees, but then plateaus after that. Although, more trees also increase the chance of higher quality mushrooms too. While you can get decent mushroom yields with less than 5 trees, and there's definitely something to be said about putting them around the farm for aesthetics. Let's get real. A lot of you may already be thinking bigger. The most serious and efficient Stardew farmers will probably try to incorporate these into tree farms in the train station or the quarry. So, let's find a place to put a tree farm and take a look at some of the numbers. I think I can find a place to try this out. Alright, looks like we'll need a little cleanup.
2 hours later.
Anyway, wild trees need to be separated by 1 space from adjacent trees to grow. So we're going to be planting our trees in this pattern. We can technically get 16 mature wild trees in the 7x7 square around the mushroom log, but we can't fill in as many mushroom logs in that pattern without blocking our path. If we place the mushroom logs between our trees in the same rows, we get a nice walkway, and our mushroom logs should still see 12 trees within range. From here on out, we're going to assume that each log has 12 nearby trees for calculating the outputs, and this should be enough to max out our production at 5 mushrooms every 4 days. Next up, let's take a look at what kind of mushrooms we're going to be getting and the quality. The formulas for mushroom type and quality are available on the Stardew wiki. I'll skip most of the details and get to the results for our test case, but they are available if you want to get into the math. Anyway, based on our setup and depending on which trees we use, we should be able to expect to see an average mushroom distribution that looks something like this. And the quality distribution will look something like this. Note that having moss-covered trees increases the odds of getting better mushrooms. You may not want to be so quick to knock the moss off, or at the very least, wait until you get your mushroom harvest. With all these numbers in mind, we can calculate the average revenue based on the sell price of each mushroom. Here's a breakdown of average gold per day per mushroom log in this orientation. It's actually pretty impressive considering that a mushroom log can beat out a keg making ancient fruit wine. While getting my tree farm up and running, I came across something interesting and unexpected. I put the mushroom logs out on the same day that I planted my wild tree seeds, so the mushroom logs were actually ready to harvest one day ahead of the trees being fully grown. On the first day of mushroom harvest, each log produced 5 mushrooms. Not only that, but I did get some iridium quality mushrooms as well. I didn't get any chanterelles, so it looks like the mushroom type formula only counts for mature trees, but the quantity and the quality both seem to get a bonus from wild tree saplings. At first, it looks like planting seeds between full-grown trees may be a way of boosting yields if you don't have enough mushroom logs, or if you want to avoid using mushroom logs in the non-ideal spaces near the edges of your tree plots. Including the saplings also opens up other tree farm planting configurations if you want to favor mushroom quantity and quality over tree tapper products. We looked at a couple alternate tree farm setups that include saplings, and these are some of the numbers for comparison. If you're trying to optimize for money, it gets even more complicated as you trade higher quality mushrooms for more common mushrooms from the additional saplings. I'll show some plots estimating gold per day for a mushroom log with 12 adult trees as a function of additional saplings within range. Honestly, you're fighting the battle of quality versus type, and the best mushroom types beat out common mushrooms on price so much that there are very few scenarios where additional saplings make more money. It depends on the individual setup and how many of the adult trees are mossy, but trying to optimize to that extent might not be worth the effort. I'll probably try one of the alternative designs for my next attempt, but mainly because of the wider pass between the trees is a really big selling point for me on its own, if only for less blind stumbling through the forest during harvests. One last note before we start to wrap up. You might be wondering whether mushroom logs still work in the winter. Well, it's your lucky day. I tested my mushroom logs in their first winter harvest, and everything seemed to be working just fine. Although I don't think trees stay mossy in the winter, so you might see a quality drop, but even with that, it looks like the mushroom logs are an evergreen source of income, just like the tap trees around them. So based on what we've learned so far, let's take a look at the pros and cons of the mushroom log. They make pretty good money if you set them up properly. It fits naturally within tree farms, so many farmers may be able to fit them in with minimal work. Mushroom logs are available pretty early in the game at level 4 foraging, and the cost to craft them is pretty low. They also give 5 foraging experience on harvest, so they'll be able to help you level up your foraging in the long run. I think that they have great aesthetic potential for around the farm as well. However, they will probably require an all-out tree farm to reach their full potential. The quarry and the train station make really good candidates, but it might be hard to justify using that much space on the actual farm. Since they do have to be outside and near wild trees, they're never going to have the same space efficiency of equipment that can be set up indoors. Hardwood can also be a limited resource early on in the game, so crafting mushroom logs might have to take a backseat to the other priorities. I'd say that with all of this information, using mushroom logs can definitely be worth it in the right situation with a little effort, and I can definitely see myself using them. Are you going to be incorporating mushroom logs onto your farm? Did I miss something about mushroom logs that makes them great? Let me know in the comments if you plan to use these on your farm and how you're going to set them up. This is a really cool new addition, and I'd love to see how everybody ends up using the mushroom log. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to leave a like or come say hello to me on Twitch. Until next time, goodbye.